Week 2 of Stage 2 is in the books. What a comeback! We break down the Fusion's amazing reverse sweep against the surging Outlaws.
One of the best games of the stage.
New York went a perfect 8-0 in maps. We'll take you to the Big Apple for a wild watch party during their win over Houston. After picking up 2 more wins, is the Seoul Dynasty the team to beat in Stage 2?
They will remain undefeated here in Stage 2.
And we present awards to the best of the best in our first ever Nanzers. Plus, why is Baby Bay doing this? It's time for Watchpoint.
Welcome to MLG's Watchpoint. Mr. X here with Monte and Uber, and what a great week 2 we had.
Sometimes I also wonder what Baby Bay's doing, not just when he's on camera, but sometimes in the games as well.
Yeah, you know that guy's a bit of a firecracker. Never really know what to expect from him. I think it should be pretty self-explanatory what he was doing there, but for the sake of
they came in pretty loose
about it.
into the Shanghai match. They were feeling themselves on their way in. So.
Literally. Literally. But yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting week. Look, the Saturday of this week, I had high hopes. I did have high hopes, right? We had some really good on paper looking games going in. Philadelphia, London. We had Houston, New York. Didn't quite get the close games, the game 5s we were maybe hoping for, but
really?
that's how the cookie crumbles.
I mean, we didn't get the game 5s, but even though it was a 4-0, I think the Houston-New York game was pretty close overall. That Kings Row map was super good, so it was a 4-0, but a close one.
And of course, towards the end of the day, we saw, once again, Shanghai Dragons, their chance possibly to get a win against the San Francisco Shock. It just didn't happen.
I was hoping for it.
I feel like I've been jinxing them. Every game before a Shanghai game, I'm just screaming in the back. I'm like, this is the one, and then they just get 4
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get there one day, eventually. But we're going to recap everything from week 2 of Stage 2, including the glaring hole in the Houston Outlaws lineup that led to their 2 losses this week.
And I think I may have to issue a retraction of my retraction about Houston from last week later in the show. And, of course, in the spirit of the Oscars from this week, we will be giving out our first ever Nanzers, named after our glorious commissioner.
And we'll take you to New York City for one of the best Overwatch parties in the country. But first, let's get to this week's biggest stories.
Right, so coming into the week, one of the most exciting matchups was between the Outlaws and the Fusion, and it was easily the match of the week. Houston stormed out to a 2-0 lead, but Philly pulled off a thrilling reverse sweep behind Carpe and Shadowburn on Thursday to continue that strong Stage 2 start.
And the NYXL have been in first place for most of the season, and they showed why this week. New York rolled over Boston 4-0 Thursday and backed that up with another 4-0 win over Houston, leaving the Outlaws at 0-2 on the week and further cementing the Excelsior as the team to beat in the Overwatch League.
Man, I really love the way you say that. Seoul Dynasty continues to roll, by the way. The Dynasty won 2 more matches this week over the Fuel and the Gladiators. Seoul looks very strong in the new patch and seems to have patched up some of the holes they had late in Stage 1. The Dynasty are the only team yet to lose in Stage 2.
Yeah, so that puts Seoul right behind the NYXL on the season standings with just 1 match separating them. The Valiant took care of business this week to move past Houston up into the coveted 4th spot, and Philadelphia followed their reverse sweep of Houston with a shocker of a match against London. Today, we're going to sit there in 6th place for a bit longer. So, getting back to the NYXL, Matt, how did they make such easy work of 2 ostensibly pretty tough opponents this week?
This may sound obvious, but it's the fact that they were able to play their support as support and their main tank back.
Whoa! Brilliant.
I know, truly mind-blowing stuff, but Ark was able to play this week. He was back in the lineup, and we talked a lot about how they missed his Lucio play and whatnot, but he was able to play a lot of Ana as well. His Ana was very good.
Well, he said in his interviews, too, that he was not necessarily convinced that he was going to be a great Ana player. But if we look at highlights like that, he had nutty sleep darts this week, and I think that he really showed back to his old form, what we know from him on his Lucio. And now Jonak's basically been exclusively playing the Zenyatta, so he's had to flex into all these other roles, and he's been doing a great job.
Well, Monte, how is this team so consistent? I mean, week in and week out, they're just beating people.
I think that they have adapted very well to this patch. We wondered coming in, is New York going to be as dominant when the Lucio meta hits? And the answer has been that right now, Jonak is not getting the same level of support because that's a better way to play the game. Sabiolbi, on the other hand, has changed from peeling off supports for Jonak to attacking the supports from the enemy backline. So this is a massive shift, and we saw that particularly in the Houston game when he was going after Raucus over and over and over again and leaving Arc and Jonak to their own devices. So New York has now switched their play style depending on the team, Houston, and depending on the patch, this latest one where Mercy's been nerfed.
It's interesting. You wonder, why is Sabiolbi less interested in Jake and more interested in the backline of the Outlaws here? I mean, we can leave it there, but also I've got to say consistency for these guys is key. And has been very, very good. Libero's playing really well now. Actually seeing him, I felt this nostalgia when I was watching him play Sombra on Route 66, actually, thinking back to those Meta Athena days. He played a really strong Genji in that series as well. So Sabiolbi's always been consistent, even though he's changed his approach. But, we didn't see Pine really that much this week, but Libero coming in definitely made his mark.
It's a team that doesn't have a weakness. I feel like every time, we're asked, make a list of some of your best tanks or best DPS players or supports in the league. It's like we always start out with, the NYXL guys, and it's like, oh, we can't have everybody from NYXL. It's like, but they're all so good. It's like it's like you never kind of say that with other teams, right? Like they're just so talented top to bottom. I think that's why they're able to just make these wins look easy.
Yeah, you take a look at those stats, too, for Sabiolbi. That's a crazy amount of eliminations. He was absolutely dominant in this series. But as we look at Houston now, Matt, why did they stall out in week 2?
I think especially in the match against NYXL, it was, the Tracer playing. I think, Jake had a really, bad game on Tracer, which I wonder, for the Houston Outlaws, why not just play Jake on 76? Because we've seen him play a good 76 in the past. And then Linkser can play the Tracer, right? I think it's probably the safer of the two options. And we have seen Jake's Tracer, in a very good form a little bit earlier in the year, but I know in this match against New York, definitely wasn't there.
I also wonder a little bit why they don't go back, like you're saying, to the Soldier, but also the Junkrat. When we had seen them play Kings Row previously, they had run the triple tank Junkrat. They looked absolutely dominant in that particular style. On attack, they'd run Jake on the Roadhog and play the Hanzo. So I'm confused as to why they moved further away from these strats that have worked out very well for them. At their heart, Houston is a defensive anti-dive team, and I want to see them play that style.
Look, it's straight up not working out, and there's a bunch of metrics we can use to sort of assess the success of Jake on this role, on this Tracer role, but specifically, he's getting farmed by supports. He's not just dying sometimes to supports. The highest amount of kills in the second half of the series between Houston and Philadelphia was Neptuno killing Jake. He was 2-7 versus Jonak on the series against the New York NYXL. So you're getting killed by supports. It
was a rough week, but I do agree with Monte. Why not go back and try some of the Junkrat stuff? I mean, there are some good maps in this pool for Junkrat.
Overall, I don't think it's as good map-wise as the previous pool.
Well, no, it's definitely not as good as the previous pool, but Kings Row, you can definitely run
Junkrat.
And
they have on defense. They have.
And in fairness, his Roadhog was actually fine. I think Kings Row is definitely the least of their concerns, and we saw it in that series against New York. It was, 6-5 in terms of score at the end of it. Obviously, Spree's performing in that role. It's the other maps that are causing them some issues, suffice to say.
Well, anyway, if we take a look at the actual stats, though, going back to the Tracer battle between Jake and Sabiolbi, even though it was less of a Tracer 1v1 because Jake was trying to peel Sabiolbi off his supports rather than the other way around, this is a very, very large difference between these two players. Eliminations per 10 minutes, Sabiolbi up at nearly 15 plus on Jake's 10, so 25-10, and final blows double. Pulse bomb slightly up for Sabiolbi, but deaths less than half.
It is also probably the best Tracer in the league versus somebody who's just kind of been forced into the Tracer role for their team, but still, the numbers are just crazy.
Yes and no. I think we watch kind of Jake, and his style is kind of erratic as well. And you see what you're watching his reticle, and he wants to play aggressive and play on that knife edge. And I would not say he's the most subtle approach, but he definitely gets the job done in a lot of cases. But you're also comparing, against the team who did very well in the week overall, whereas the Outlaws are 0-2 in this week. So but you got to look at the source of the numbers. But again, it is fairly damning.
I think that there is a question. can you be an elite Owl team if you don't have an elite Tracer? She's such a fundamental part of this game at the professional level.
Every game.
Every game.
Every game. And if you don't have a good one, then you're going to be behind already before the match starts, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have, I think they have a match coming up soon against, like, Florida. Like, maybe you give, like, Mendo a run. Maybe you give Clockwork some extended run. You try some things out. See if you can, you know, maybe find something on your roster that you have for some different maps that may work a little bit better. I mean, even Clockwork as 76 and Lynxer as Tracer would probably make a little bit more sense, right?
But I mean, on that note, we look back, the Outlaws' first loss of the week was that dramatic reverse sweep at the hands of the Fusion. So we actually sat down and talked to Philly's support duo after the match just to hear how they felt they pulled it off.
Somehow, Philly has turned this in their favor.
There it is, the Fusion get it done.
They get a big win here against Houston. They prove a lot of people wrong.
There's some rivalry, I guess, and it's like a nice matchup.
Houston Outlaws, Philadelphia Fusion, what could be the best match of Stage 2.
Coming to this match, we weren't thinking too much about them. We were like preparing ourselves.
Fraggy, one of the aforementioned, is already taken down. The Outlaws start strong. That was quick. This is not a good start at all for the Fusion.
I said this could be the best match of Stage 2. Not so much so far.
This match we were like really sloppy at the beginning, and we woke up in the third match.
Got into the back line and gutted the Outlaws, and this is a resurgence from the Philadelphia Fusion.
We just managed to reset mentally, and then we knew we could win.
Philadelphia Fusion, they're going to make this a series. And there's nothing that Jake could really do but stay around and watch as it all fell apart.
We didn't practice Ilios too much. We were like so much focused on the last match. We were only thinking about winning. We were like, we're gonna win. Doesn't matter. Keep going.
Here's the Outlaws looking down the barrel of a map 5. There's no better time to put a pulse bomb in the enemy team than when they're all inside a cavern. And Carpe cleans house.
And he started diving, and I was like, okay, Carpe, okay, let's dive.
And it's a party now!
Anyway, what's your bet?
That fight was like really messy. I think they made a mistake.
So Carpe does force out that transcendence there towards the end.
So that gave us like small advantage to come back.
No! The Philadelphia Fusion reverse sweep the Houston Outlaws. One of the best games of the stage.
We were just so hyped after coming back from 2-0 down.
If we play our game, I feel like we can beat any team, anytime.
What an intense match. Yeah. Take a breath, take a breath.
It's no secret that Philadelphia leans on Carpe's play quite a bit, and you can see the difference here in their win over Houston versus the loss of London. And, you know, he had a rough go against London in Stage 1. It definitely carried over into Stage 2. You can see what a difference this player makes for the Philadelphia lineup.
Yeah, he's usually such a consistent high performer that you can rely on him to be the foundation, the backbone of this team. So I was a bit surprised to see some of his stats versus London this week where he wasn't hitting his normal highs.
Yeah, interestingly enough, both his deaths actually in both of those games per 10 are very similar. The big difference is actually his elimination. So it's almost as if it's more of a personal thing for Carpe and just how he's approaching some of these scenarios where these players are harder to kill. He started slow though. The first two maps you can see 9.28 eliminations per 10 minutes, and then also, you know, double that on all the other maps in week 2. We saw that against the Houston Outlaws, and I'm not going to lie, for a player as integral to the lineup as Carpe, if he starts cold, you are going to see it immediately. It's going to have a huge impact on your team.
Well, it's also, though, there's another factor to this, which is that Tracer stats are often buttressed by the fact that Tracer's finishing off kills. So with strong shot calling, when you chip somebody out, that's when the Tracer swoops in and finishes that kill. So it could be the communication also with Philadelphia is a little bit slow to start, and once it gets rolling, once they're warmed up, that's when he's communicating better about target selection.
Team buttress Tracer, that was a sad time.
Well, we also saw in the series against Houston, the first two maps, Fraggy and Poco not have the best two games, and they were able, the Houston Outlaws, to just jump on Carpe right away. There was no help for him whatsoever. They changed it at halftime. The Tanks had a very good second half. They ended up coming back. But we also saw Shadowburn back in the lineup this week. Shadowburn versus EQO. I'm sure all the Philly fans are talking about it. Saw a little bit of chatter on Twitter, too. You can see some of the stats. I would also kind of look at this in the fact that Shadowburn did play against Houston and London, and they got smoked by London, so the stats are not going to look ideal. Look, EQO was phenomenal in the two games he played. I did we saw Shadowburn play Widowmaker this week. We saw him play some other heroes that are usually outside of his hero pool.
Again, sample size is really important. A lot of people are going to see this and think it is a huge difference, but the stats are incredibly skewed in favor of EQO. We'd like to see him back. We'd like to gather more data. I'm sure many of you out there would agree. but it's not super accurate.
I think also when we look at Philadelphia's performance, we see, okay, well, they got actually rolled by London, but part of that was London returning to a starting roster that's more reminiscent of how they finished stage 1. Earlier in this stage, it looked like they were running Hagapun and Closer because they were a support duo with a lot of synergy from the GC Busan days, but now they're going back to Bedosian, Nuss, and Birdring, which is how they closed so strong at the end of stage 1. And this roster in particular really does look much more cohesive. Now, we know why London did their roster moves this week, because they said, okay, our 2 matches have very different pools of maps, so we're going to try and split our team up a little more evenly between that. Did end up working out for them, particularly against Philadelphia. But I think it's more than that. I think that this is just a better starting roster for them.
I would agree, and I also think in terms of game planning, Philadelphia is probably the easier team to game plan against, just because you know what they're going to do. They're going to just run dive pretty much the entire time, and you're able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's not even like a chaotic game style necessarily. You watch Philly, and they're kind of scrappy, and they like to get involved in a lot of those fights, but you can still identify a lot of touch points on that particular roster in their approach to the game. So I think it was a pretty systematic deconstruction of Philly's style, and it showed.
Yeah, it definitely did. Let's talk about the Valiant, though, for a moment. So, Uber, we've seen 2 full weeks of the Kariv back on DPS project. How do you think it's working?
So far, so good. I love this particular play here. Baby Bay, classic Baby Bay move, tries to go in tactical visor, immediately shuts him down. Kariv played a bunch of different stuff this week, and what I kind of like about the switch towards Kariv is that it enables Soon a little bit more just to kind of do what he has been doing. In the past, the Valiant, their Widowmaker compositions often required either Soon to switch over to that one and sort of force them to lose a Tracer, or Kariv would flex off of support and leave them with like a single support to play Widowmaker as well. So the statistically speaking, it's been working quite well. It was a little bit weird for us to sort of watch it, but when we saw the match between the Valiant and the Fuel, and everyone's talking about AKM, talking him up as like a top-tier hitscan player, the best 76 in the world. Kariv handled him quite comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, Kariv's been great in the DPS role. I don't think there's a way to kind of get around that. I think a lot of people, when they saw him come in as like support to DPS, it's just not a transition you see a lot of players make. It's usually like DPS to support, DPS
But he already made the DPS to support transition. So in Korea, for those people who don't know, in Apex, he did play DPS. He was a Widowmaker expert.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think a lot of people expected it in Overwatch League. I think with the roster they had, they expected him to stay on support. And I think a lot of people are just kind of tied to Agilities and Silk Thread with how they played in Stage 1.
I do think that when we talk about Kariv, he traditionally was a long-range hit scan specialist back when he was playing in Apex, and that he brings a different element to their team compositions, because before, Soon would swap between Tracer and Widowmaker, and now they have an option to play a top-tier Widowmaker and a top-tier Tracer simultaneously, and that option did not exist. And especially on maps, this pool, Watchpoint Gibraltar, that's actually very valuable.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, his 76 has been, I would say their best 76 probably in Stage 1 was Silk Thread, and he's been like on par, if not better, than Silk Thread.
If he's not better than Silk Thread, he's very, very close, I think, looking both at the stats and at the eye test. But generally speaking, like as we talked this over, you can see here, I mean, here's a great example, right? So Silk Thread's obviously where he is leading, his squares are highlighted. So between Kariv and Silk Thread, it's hardly any difference, really.
Yeah, but the difference is not on the Soldier 76. It's the fact that they can freely swap their Soldier to Widowmaker. So for different points on different maps, like I said, Gibraltar is a great example of this, where you want a Tracer and you also want a player who can freely swap between the Widow and Soldier, because you're using both of those heroes extensively on attack and defense.
Well, and the 2 heroes I was surprised to see Kariv play was Genji, which it didn't look that bad. He played on Hanamura. He was able to build up Blade pretty quick, a good value out of it, and he played a decent amount of Pharah this week too. So you did see some other heroes out of Kariv that I didn't expect. I thought he was just going to play pretty much, 76 Widowmaker, just a lot of hit scan, but he brought some projectile in and he was quite good.
So it seems like the Valiant have a handle on things for the time being, and as casters, we kind of like to think we've got a pretty good handle on all the action that unfolds during these matches, but sometimes, every once in a while, we get caught off guard and someone pulls off something we didn't expect to happen. This is where we celebrate those moments and didn't see that coming.
We got a cool graphic this week.
Bam!
We're upgrading.
All right, we're leveling up as the year goes on.
Upgrades with Kariv.
Kariv with a 5K McCree ult with a little help from the Graviton Surge, bringing everybody in. All nice. We talked about how good Kariv has been as a DPS. You see it here with the press queue.
It's almost like it was scripted, Matt. What can I say? I also note the Junkrat was soon assisting a lot with getting rid of the right heart shield. That helps.
That definitely does help. And we're going to take another impressive look at another Valiant player in soon as he starts camping Dallas at the Fuel, and Harry Hook really suffers at his hands, never being able to get back to his team from that spawn room.
Yep. Historically, Soon has just pretty much had the run at the rule of the roost against the Fuel. Remember his back cap on Numbani, stage 1, and we see the stuff from him now. This is the same match, so this is Mickey. So he opens up here on the D.Va, gets a big self-destruct into that side room with a 2K, then he jumps back in the suit, and there's more work to be done.
Yeah, he ends up taking out both supports with that self-destruct. Just a peek down at Kareev there, then gets all the way into the back, takes out Fate. I think Mickey's definitely been getting better as the stages have gone on. I think also having a stable tank in the mix with XQC helps him out a little bit. We can take XQC a look of his gameplay, some top tier Orisa strats, the halt, getting Jaehong off the side of the map here.
Yeah, he just sat on a lip there. It looked like he had to try and DI to get himself back on the edge, but he couldn't make it.
Yeah, couldn't quite get it there. We're going to take a look at Hureg, though, getting some playtime this week on London. Haven't seen him in a bit, but nice to grab a couple of kills on the Widowmaker right as people are exiting those spawn doors.
You do not make that play without a shield or something in front of you, by the way. It's a defensive Widowmaker. Odds are you're going to get wrecked doing that. That's very ballsy, and an attacking team probably going to be pretty pissed off to see that happen as they open up. Let's have a look, though, now at our boy Dream Casper. A bit of a quieter start to this stage for him and his roster. But, yeah, Tvik trying to go in here with the Dragon Blade, and nothing is better than that. Oh, I love it.
That's no good. This is I mean, he's obviously getting the damage boost from Pelix there, but still, that's just absolutely filthy. Tvik's going to dive right at him if he doesn't hit that shot. We can go on with Logics from the Florida Mayhem. Give Florida some love this week. It's a Logics with a 3K to keep the point going on Kings Row.
Yeah, this is here, I mean, with a Widowmaker, if you are unattended up on this high ground, you can do a heck of a lot of work. There was no one else that could really access that point, but to stay alive against that D.Va, pretty important stuff.
Yeah, also just eliminating the Matrix. Nobody going to be able to stop you from the upper halls at that point. But I want to take a look at Ark, back in the roster this week for the New York Excelsior, and he hit quite a few clutch sleep starts. This is one of them. Jake stands no chance. Jonak finishes what Ark starts. Nice sleep dart.
I love that correction there as well. You can see the Ark is really making sure he lines up that dart. Wham, bam, thank you, man. The 1-2 punch comes in with the orbs. Your boy Muma here charges Jonak's ulting set off the map. The best part of this, Muma actually has to mount the payload. He actually climbs up on the payload so he can get this one. Normally, Jonak would have been hard to get rid of, and he doesn't die. He doesn't fall down himself.
So the best part is the wave at the end. Look at this.
Oh, he knows it. He knows it.
And it's another play from the Houston Outlaws. This time it's going to be Linkser with a Hanzo Dragon from Spawn. The Dragon, a wave. It ends up being huge as it actually kills Libero here, and it helps Houston take this second point.
I don't know if they get point B if they don't get that kill from Spawn.
Yeah. It's like he just sends it off like, fly free, my bird, and all of a sudden, get a very important kill just outside of that area.
And didn't see that coming. The NYXL made defeating Houston look easy this week, much to the pleasure of their excitable fan base. We sent our cameras to hang with the 5 Deadly Venoms crew in New York City as they held a watch party for the match. Check it out.
This is the match we've been waiting for, and I'm so pumped to get it started.
We have the Houston Outlaws going up against NYXL.
My name's Rich, AKA the Great Rude Bear, and I'm the founder of the 5 Deadly Venoms here in New York City. As we're heading in to the start of Overwatch League, there were a number of us that were looking for a place to watch the game. I found Watchpoint Cafe. Ask the owner, hey, are you gonna be showing the league games? They say yes.
The biggest thing, though, for the cafe was the huge uptick that we got ever since showing the games with the 5 Deadly Venoms crew and everything.
I had seen a lot of esports. I've watched a lot over the years, and seeing Overwatch was something special. We just kind of got together, and it was about a group of about 15, 16 of us that came here opening night. That started an entire train of things, and slowly but surely, we've just started growing.
It's time to get it started right now. Please make some noise and welcome the squad from the Big Apple. It's the NYXL.
Oof. The 5 Deadly Venoms, I would say, are just as enthusiastic about New York XL as any hardcore sports fan, the people that you see who go to like football games and tailgate.
And that will be map number 1, going to New York Excelsior.
When the teams were started, for the first time, you could choose from any team you want, any style of play.
Oh, a sleep dart from Ark! Are you kidding me? This guy is crazy!
But I'll tell you, New York Excelsior is a very different kind of team because they've probably got one of the most personable sets of individuals that you can have.
Xavier will be going crazy right now. He gets spree. Are you kidding me?
This community here at the cafe is super passionate about Overwatch and extremely, almost over-the-top passionate about New York XL.
The payload moving forward and New York does it. What a king's throw that was.
Sometimes we do get worried that we might get a noise complaint because we're not really issued as a bar.
Libero on fire, taking down Coolman. Oh, direct hit onto Jake.
What's really great about the 5 Deadly Venoms is that we're really about rallying around both the players and the team at large.
All right, New York, victory in their sights.
The beauty of this is that it's about how the community comes together in each of these areas and makes something for themselves, something bigger than themselves, that rallies behind that flag of New York Excelsior.
And that is it. New York Excelsior will complete the sweep over the Houston Outlaws.
And next to having some fantastic fans, another part of what makes New York great is that they are dying less than any other team overall. Look at this one here. Both their main support and their DPS duo come in at second in hero rank for the least amount of deaths. It comes with the territory though. If New York are winning their games, it follows that they're not dying too much. Still a stellar list of results to have.
Welcome to the first annual Nanzer Awards, a celebration of the best performances in the Overwatch League. Now presenting the award for best performance in a support role, please welcome Uber.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, growing up on the streets of Junkertown, it was a tough life. Beer-guzzling monsters, riptires, and peg-legged maniacs lurked around every corner. There were days where I didn't even want to get out of bed, but thanks to some great support, I'm able to be standing here today as a huge and extremely handsome celebrity. These are the nominees for the best performance in a support role. First up, from the NYXL, it's Jonak Azinyata, top in hero damage done for support, second in final blows, and fifth on deaths. Definitely the secret weapon of the NYXL, often getting the damage boost, always a part of the action, hitting harder than some DPSs out there. Next, from the Philadelphia Fusion, it's Neptuno with Mercy and Lucio. Bloodthirsty support doesn't even come close to this man. Hero damage done, he's the best at. Second in final blows per 10 minutes. Third in sound barriers provided. And second in defensive assists per 10. Definitely loves himself a bit of support or combat. And finally, it's going to be from the London Spitfire, Bedosin. Hero damage per 10 minutes, he comes in at second, top in final blows, top in critical hit accuracy, and third in melee final blows. Loves a bit of argy-bargy, this one, no doubt about it. And now, the Nanzer Award goes to Neptuno from the Philadelphia Fusion. Big congratulations to Neptuno and all the other nominees.
And now, presenting the award for best performance by DPS duo, please welcome Mr. X.
Thank you. So excited to be here at the Nanzers. A lot of people don't know this, but DPS actually stands for Don't Push Send. I wish someone would have told me that last night at 2 a.m. You guys know what I mean? A cool Matt knows what I mean. He's laughing over there. But no, the truth is DPS stands for damage per second. And these nominees are for the best DPS duo. Sabiel B and Libero for the New York Excelsior. Sabiel B's Tracer has the third most solo kills in the league this season, and Libero's Genji are both second in the league for fewest deaths. These two have been so good all season long, leading New York to that top spot overall. Our next nominees will be Fleta and Munchkin from the Seoul Dynasty. Fleta has been pretty much the best DPS player all year long thus far, though he's dominant on every hero he touches, especially that Genji and Pharah. And Munchkin has really turned into a very good Tracer player here in Stage 2, as Seoul Dynasty looks to be just rolling through the competition. Our next nominee will be Prophet and Birdring from the London Spitfire. These two players can play any hero amongst the two of them. They can trade off, whether it's the Soldier 76, the Tracer, the Genji, the Widowmaker. Strong in every single role they take up. A big reason why London was your Stage 1 champions. And our final nominee will be the Philadelphia Fusion's Carpe and Shadowburn. A lot of people wondering if EQO was going to be nominated here with Carpe, but Shadowburn has played most of their matches. We've seen him play some new heroes like Widowmaker. His Pharah has been great. We know what he can do on Genji. And Carpe may be the most underrated DPS player we have in the league thus far. And the Nanzer goes to Prophet and Birdring from the London Spitfire. Now, these two guys have been just so strong. It's great to see them nominated and winners of this award. Congratulations to you and the other nominees.
The following awards were presented earlier in the night. For Best Animated Caster, Uber in Ah!
One done for the Mayhem. They found Monte Whirling. Oh, it's all happening so fast. Ah! It's all over the screen, but Sabi will be connected with a possible Monte Whirling.
For Best Comedy, Chaz and Asher in Falling Off Junkertown. For Best Cameo, that referee in Dude, Where's My J-Hong? For Best Stunt Work, Tavik in Driving Miss Mayhem.
Is it fun driving in LA? It is very many cars. Oh yeah.
For Best Achievement in Cosplay Design, Philadelphia Fusion Analytics expert Beezy as Diva. And now, please welcome the president of the Nanzer Academy, Monte Cristo.
A big thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. As president of the Academy, I am proud to preside over the first annual Overwatch League awards show, the Nanzers. And before we wrap this up, I'd like to take a brief moment to address some comments I made last week on the full Monty. I previously retracted my comments on the Houston Outlaws, but now I would like to retract my retraction. While still a good team, the Outlaws' flaws became more evident as other squads, such as the NYXL, began to pick apart their habits and less suitable hero pools for this patch. I look forward to the opportunity to retract my retraction if Houston returns to their dominant form this next week. With that out of the way, I want to congratulate all of tonight's winners. It's been an amazing year for us at the Nanzer Academy and the Overwatch League so far. Until next time, play nice, play fair, and good night.
Thank you for watching the first annual Nanzers.
I could not think of a better way to start week 2 here in Stage 2 than a match between Dallas Fuel and Seoul Dynasty. There's a stick on NYXL, he gets him! I don't think that Dallas was expecting Seoul to be this aggressive. And Seoul Dynasty will barely pull it out.
This is the matchup we've been so pumped for.
The Outlaws start strong. 2 maps already in the bag for them.
I said, this could be the best matchup all of Stage 2. Not so much so far. It's been a one-sided affair.
Philadelphia Fusion, they're gonna make this a series. The Philadelphia Fusion reverse sweep the Houston Outlaws.
This is one we're all fired up about. The Gladiators taking on the Seoul Dynasty.
Full support's taken out by Munchkin.
This guy, he's crazy.
What? I really thought there was gonna be a fight there. Dynasty coming out with the 3-1 victory.
Biggest surprise of stage 2, Philly off to a red-hot stellar start.
Carpe flashed in midair. Why are you diving on a McCree? It's never going to pay off. That's the series, 4-0.
We got Outlaws versus New York.
Libero on fire, taking down Kulat. New York does it and complete the sweep.
And here it is, the Fusion 0-4 loss to London pushed them down to the 4th spot in the Stage 2 standings and moved London up to number 3. Seoul is out in front with that 4-0 record, but remember, the top 3 seeds are the ones that make the finals at the end of Stage 2. And now it's time to look at the most emote-inducing moments from Week 2. The Overwatch League's a bit of a meme factory, and I've got my remote as usual, so I'll be driving the ship here. This is Emote Control. Let's start it off here. First and foremost, boys, Mickey's Roadhog causes a bit of a blooper moment here on Nepal.
I think this is definitely, we'll do a Kappa moment here. Pulling it onto himself, baiting his team. That's pretty funny.
So actually, this is pretty funny. I'm gonna face on this. This is just awful. But the first time I actually played Overwatch with Brent and Sideshow actually did this to us and wiped like 5 of us. We ended up losing the game, obviously. So I've been on the receiving end of this. It's not fun.
I've also seen this done in scrims. I've seen McGravy as well. I'm sorry for calling him out, bro. I've seen him do it in scrims before. The footage was up on Twitter. Here's your next one. Crumbs clearly has nothing to do on his off day, so he comes down to the arena and he's going to revive the old smarts and dumbs meme.
I absolutely love this. This is one of my favorite things from League of Legends that's carried over now. He's promoting his own hilarious chat memes. So be sure to spam those.
We need to make sure, yeah, exactly. When he makes a good prediction, he's smarts. When he makes a bad prediction, he's dumbs. Get it right.
I thought this was so funny. I saw him upstairs making the sign, but I think it's just so hilarious how blatantly obvious that it's Crumbs standing there. Like, he doesn't even hide the fact that it's him with the sign or give the sign to somebody else. He just walks out there playing. Yeah. Visibly, it's him on the camera.
Great shirt on him there as well. And he told me, Mitch, the B in dumbs, yeah, it's got dollar signs in it because it stands for billions. Like, that you're not making, bro. Anyway, let's move along. Joe Nuck here, sneaky. He does get busted here by Boston while he's trying to get a back cap.
I absolutely love this play. He was hiding in the alcove. I'm going to give it a budget PogChamp. He does die at the end, so it's like a PogChamp with a death. So
I see what he did there. All right, I'll give you that.
I'm gonna go with one face here. This was probably the face that he made as he saw everybody just kind of coming back for him. Tried to be soon, definitely was not soon-esque because he gets caught pretty easily.
All right, let's move along. Sometimes here in Overwatch, fandom gets a little bit too far. This time it's actually coming from one of our players. This is Ark's handiwork, showing himself. It's not quite a body pillow, so, you know, that's fine, but it is a Jeff Kaplan pillow.
Okay. I definitely have to go with the what face for this one. I don't even know if he sewed it himself or if he found somebody to purchase it.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
But definitely, I find this a little bit over the top.
Apparently he handmade it. Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, he's a man of many talents. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, there's like a lot of other pillows I probably would have handmade. I probably would have just went and bought a pillow, to be honest.
I don't think you'd ever hand make anything.
Yeah, I have no.
Not even your own dinner, mate.
Yeah, I can make a little bit of dinner, but not a pillow.
Tacos, man?
I love tacos.
So, interesting stuff. Now, let's move on to our next one, though, as well. This is great. Carpe, Neptuno, and even Poco getting in on the action, by the way. I got a kick out of this. This is pretty funny.
This is such a juicy moment. It's almost as juicy as Raucus from Houston Outlaws. His booty emote from his stream. We're pulling this one out right here. I love this. It's so much fun.
It's the honky tonk badonka donk.
I went with the MLG PogChamp. I love this type of stuff. I know people are like, oh, teabagging doesn't belong. It definitely belongs.
It definitely belongs.
I'm willing to say, though, that Cool Matt probably isn't the one on that team that's doing the teabagging.
No,
they're like, guys,
yeah, but it doesn't
even do that.
It doesn't matter. A lot of the times when people are talking trash, you talk trash to anybody. It don't matter.
All right, well, here's a bit of action here. Baby Bay just feeling pretty spicy. Yeah, Friskies is how we want to put it. That's also fine.
I don't like this. This is a failure moment because he doesn't commit to it. He doesn't commit to it.
He goes for a nose brush like a sheep. He's like, oh, wasn't me.
If you want to do this, you want to do the nipple rub. You commit to the nipple rub.
I'm going with the juvie kiss. You know, that's a new one we've added. Mitch can explain it after, but no, Baby just trying to get some new fans out there with some of his moves.
So if you're in chat and you're complaining about how the Apex observing was so good, it means that you're an Overwatch OG and you want everyone to know. This particular emo here is the face of Juvenile, who used to play, of course, on that Renegades roster. He works here now, and he intended to send that photo to his girlfriend, but instead sent it to his boss, Sean, at the back in production.
You know, as the former owner of Renegades and creator of the Renegades brand, I have to tell you, there's nothing more Renegades than embarrassing yourself.
You own Renegades?
That's been in my control.
You own Renegades?
I did back in the day.
Well, as the sun sets, the sun sets, of course, on week 2 of stage 2. We'd like to take a moment to reflect on what we've witnessed and gain a little hindsight. Monte.
My hindsight is that we're finally at the point in the Overwatch League where we see teams starting to prepare very specifically for their opponents. And this is helped out by the fact that now we have an entire stage plus of film for these teams to watch. At the start of the league, we had a lot of new rosters that were being slapped together. There wasn't a lot of evidence or research that the teams could do, particularly their coaches, on how to counter-strat teams, how to develop particular tactics in order to shut their opponents down. When we look at how New York played against Houston this week, we can tell that that game plan was very specifically tailored to deal with the Houston Outlaws' threats, and now we're going to see a big difference start to emerge between teams with strong coaches who are specifically preparing for opponents and other teams who are not quite so dedicated when it comes to looking at the film and then implementing these strategies in their Overwatch League matches. So I'm really excited because this is when we start to gain a lot of depth to the tactics that these teams are using.
In hindsight, Seoul has become the team we thought they would before the season began. Now, a lot of people had them as just #1 rolling through everybody. That wasn't the case in stage 1. They seemed to experiment a little bit. They brought Guido in at support, whether it was Kuki or Miro. They just never seemed to really get a great grasp of the game in stage 1. Now in stage 2, though, you're seeing a different beast. Toby can go back and play Lucio. Jaehan can play Zen and Ana. But I really think, Munchkin has made a huge difference in that second DPS slot. If he can keep that play up, this is a team that may roll all the way through stage 2 undefeated.
In hindsight, I'm starting to suspect that this new patch and perhaps going forward with the Overwatch League will favor those ex-Apex teams, specifically, of course, London, Seoul, and New York. You see the shift back now to more of a Lucio-focused meta, even with Soldier 76 and such thrown in that mix. And I feel like now, without Mercy here to cover up some of those mistakes and make, it harder to sort of get caught out for some of these teams, that gap might start to increase once again. That would be concerning, of course, to see, as we had quite a lot of parity next season. I don't know if that is going to last for too much longer. That does it, though, for my hindsight, and of course for MLG's Watchpoint. Check out our preview show for week 3 on Wednesday at noon Eastern Time and 9 a.m. Pacific Time on MLG.com, OverwatchLeague.com, or the Overwatch League app. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.